This is a dodo, a bird that was native to the island of Mauritius in the Indian Ocean. Related to the pigeon and the dove, the dodo was a very large bird, growing to approximately 3 feet in height. It had grayish plumage, a 9-inch hooked beak, very small wings, and a tuft of curly feathers on its, well, you can see it for yourself. But despite its silly name and appearance, the dodo is a famous symbol for the endangered species movement, due to the fact that the dodo has been extinct since the mid to late 17th century. Unlike the dinosaurs, the dodo's extinction occurred during recorded human history, and is directly related to human activity. As a flightless bird, with no predators on the island, the dodo was entirely fearless of people. It was easy prey for humans, who, despite complaining about the bad taste of the meat, greatly reduced its numbers. Even worse, humans destroyed the forests where the dodo built their nests, and introduced the dog, pig, cat, rat, and macaque, a type of monkey, which thrived on the dodo's eggs, eventually causing their extinction. In all less than a century, perhaps you've heard of the expression, dead as a dodo, which means unquestionably dead. Or the expression, to go the way of the dodo, which means to become obsolete or extinct, a thing of the past. But the dodo's sad story would not have become well known if it weren't for Lewis Carroll's Alice in Wonderland. While there was a small group of scholars that were aware of the dodo's disappearance, the majority of the people had no way of knowing, until the strange dodo bird in Alice in Wonderland captured the public's imagination. For the first time in human history, the public became aware of how humans could impact the delicate ecosystems of the world. This awareness led to the modern movement to identify and protect endangered species, in order that these other species do not go the way of the dodo. An endangered species is a population of organisms which is at risk of becoming extinct. And while the definition may seem simple enough, the criteria used in deciding exactly how at risk a species is can often make the process quite complicated. The number of an organism's population is obviously an important factor, but so is the overall increase or decrease in that population over time, breeding success rates, and known threats. To make matters even more confusing, different organizations use different categories to describe the conservation status of an organism. These categories generally include extinct, extinct in the wild, critically endangered, endangered, threatened, vulnerable, conservation dependent, near threatened, and of least concern. The extinct category means that the last remaining member of the species has died, or is presumed beyond reasonable doubt to have died. Examples of extinct species are the thylacine, the dodo, the passenger pigeon, and the Caribbean monk seal. The extinct in the wild category means that there are captive individuals that survive, but there is no free-living natural population. Examples of this category are the South China tiger and the Alogus curassow. The critically endangered category includes organisms that have an extremely high risk of extinction in the immediate future. Examples of this category are the Arakan forest turtle, the Javan rhino, the Brazilian merganser, and the gharial. The next category is the endangered category, which includes organisms that face a very high risk of extinction in the near future. Examples of this category are the blue whale, the giant panda, the snow leopard, the African wild dog, the crowned solitary eagle, and the rangas. The vulnerable category includes organisms that face a high risk of extinction, but not in the immediate future. The cheetah, the gar, the lion, the sloth bear, the wolverine, and the manatee are examples of this category. The conservation-dependent category includes animals that are not severely threatened, but are dependent on conservation programs. Examples of these are the spotted hyena, the leopard shark, and the black caiman. The near-threatened category includes organisms that may be considered threatened in the future. Examples of this are the blue-billed duck, the small-clawed otter, and wolf. Finally, the least concerned category means that there is no immediate threat to the survival of the species. Examples of these are the brown rat, the cockroach, the wood pigeon, and humans. Currently, there are 1,556 species in the world that have been identified as endangered or near extinction, which according to some organizations is approximately 13% of vertebrates, 17% of vascular plants, and 6 to 8% of fungi. But in order to conserve the biodiversity of the planet, it is important to understand the reasons why so many species are becoming endangered. The most important factor leading to the endangerment of the majority of the wildlife in the world is the human impact on the species and their environment. When an animal's ecosystem is destroyed, they lose their home and are forced to adapt to the new surroundings or perish. Pollution is another factor that causes many species to become endangered, especially a large proportion of aquatic life. Overexploitation, disease, and climate change has also led to the endangerment of several species. To put it bluntly, as humans' impact on their environment increases, the diversity of life decreases. Humans are constantly using the resources and space of the other species for themselves, which directly impacts the survival rate of these creatures. It is extremely important to maintain biodiversity in today's world because the preservation of all species is necessary for human survival. All organisms are interconnected, and a delicate balance must always be maintained. There are many ways that the biodiversity of the planet can be maintained. One such way is by obtaining more information on different groups of species. By studying an organism and understanding the causes of its endangerment, solutions can be found in order to help that species. Another way to help preserve endangered species is through the support of wildlife organizations, by the creation of federal agencies, and by enacting laws. In Hawaii, for example, there is a conservation zone which is the largest marine protected area in the world, serving as a home to an estimated 7,000 species. No fishing or removal of coral is allowed in the zone, and any vessel that passes through the zone is strictly monitored. Another way in which endangered species can be protected is through captive breeding programs in controlled settings such as zoos, wildlife preserves, and other conservation facilities. In many cases, the breeding programs have been proven so successful that animals have been reintroduced in their native habitats. Finally, and perhaps most importantly, the most effective way to protect the endangered species of the world is through public awareness. People should be educated about the delicate balance of the ecosystem in which they live. If more and more species continue to disappear from the planet, the consequences will be devastating, and man too may find himself going the way of the dodo.